Hey guys, it is Chris here again with some more Civ 5. We are back in the game. Last time around we won our war with Japan, and today we will probably be preparing for another war because, let's face it, our global politics situation is going to be war. At least for the bit. At least for the little bit. But before we can jump into another war, we have to get our economy back up and running. We got hit pretty hard by our war with Japan in that we were building troops, but we weren't advancing our actual cities. So they're smaller than they should be. They have less, they have fewer buildings than they need to have, so they are lagging behind the global standard at the moment. Still don't know who our fourth player is. But we do know that of the players left in the game, we probably have one of the strongest empires. Not on merit of the just general strength of the empire, but on the merit of how powerful our actual base is. 6 cities, 2 capitals, decent amount of wonders between them. That's a really good position to be in. Science is quite low, but it's not as though we won't start to fix that as we increase the level of our cities. Like I said, I woke up a little late today, so getting this video processed before 6 p.m. might be a bit of a chore, but I don't actually think it's going to be able to happen. But you never know. We got a few hours, so. Things are looking good in the Empire, honestly. Drove some troops building from the war, but we also have some new buildings up, like happiness buildings, so we'll be able to get something good going here. Connecting the Japanese cities eventually. Our automated workers should do that pretty easily. And with a little luck, we should be able to figure out what our next steps are going to be. I said at the beginning, hopefully we'll get the chance to invade England. Because invading England would give us a lot to work with. Plus it would cripple the only other civ near us, so that would be a good thing for us. Be a really good thing. Well, it kind of feels like we're the bad guys, just running around trying to take over other people's civs to put them back in the game. We initially decided to put our spies in our own cities. That's just a form of protection to make sure that we don't get stolen off of too much. So it turned out the other civ in the game was Harun al-Rashid, the leader of Arabia. Arabia is another really good civ. Their unique unit, the Camel Archer, is really good. Their bonus with the Bazaar, also pretty decent. And their bonus with oil means that in the late game they can field a pretty decent army. So with that information, we do know that among the threats left in the game, England is our most immediate concern. Because Harun al-Rashid is scary, but he's not our neighbor. And it's not as though he's going to come and attack us anytime soon. So we don't really have too much to worry about here. Got our second spy, so we're going to immediately put that in the city. Kyoto and Tokyo, neither one turned out to be too great of cities. Because we had to attack them for a long time, and they got pretty small from being captured. Tokyo got captured twice, so it's down to 4. That's pretty bad. Plus, there's the fact that all the luxury resources outside of Kyoto are ocean-based, and we don't know sailing, so we're not actually getting any benefit from them. But at this point in the game, I haven't realized that yet, so just sitting there on unhappiness because we are focused more on economy than fixing happiness. I was hoping to pick up Alhambra, but turns out it's already taken, so we don't get the opportunity to have it. But this is what Civ basically is. At least it is when you're playing a war-based strategy. You have a period of turns where you're building units and not really anything else, and then you have a period where you're at war, and then you have a period where you're building after the war. And those 3 periods of turns just basically repeat themselves for the rest of the game. Which is a decent way to learn how to play Civ, honestly. Because you need to learn how to reach a certain threshold where you can take some time off to build units. And you also need to know how to solidify your gains after you've actually taken things from your opponents. Honestly, we have a splendid little empire going here. Doesn't have anywhere near the number of terrace farms I would like to have to make this OP, but what can we do? We don't have the mountains. England claimed all our mountains. Which is definitely a reason why we should have attacked them first, but Japan was asking for it. They're the ones who declared the war first, but the next war that's declared will not be declared by our opponent. We will be the aggressor. Building some shrines, some buildings that increase happiness, culture, science, not science, religion, I guess? Faith, that's what it's called, faith points. Yeah, we're trying to get to the point where we can start spreading our religion, because that'll actually give us more money because we picked up tithe in it. But it kind of fell under the radar once we started prepping for war. So if we can get a, what do you call it? Pilgrim? No. Men who run around in robes and preach. Not a prophet, the other one. We can get one of those dudes out there. We should be able to have our cake and eat it too, you know? Have our decent religion, be in enough cities, and we're going to get some gold benefit off of it. We already get a culture benefit off of it. The culture benefit's actually, it's actually one of those sneaky religion picks that's kind of useful in certain contexts. We're not able to optimize the most out of it. The city that optimizes it the most is Brazil, because they get a unique tile improvement that adds culture to jungle tiles. And with that, you can basically have a jungle tile that's producing a lot of culture, which is really good. We're going with the other jungle tile option, which is to put trading post on the jungle tiles and go through the rationalism tree to give them an additional plus to science. That'll increase the yields, and the religion just provides the one bonus culture to increase the yield of the tile. England does look like they might be trying something aggressive. After all, never really could trust the English. The sun never sets. Hopefully this British Empire won't get as big as the real one. I'll just say we are going to end up picking a fight with, I actually don't know if we're going to end up picking a fight with Around al-Rashid. We don't really know where he is, but beyond that, of the remaining civs in the game, he doesn't appear to be the strongest. And he might be going for something like culture, which would be bad for us. If he's going for a culture game, it's basically if the AI is going for a culture game on one of the upper difficulties, it's a lot easier to defend it from it if you just leave one of the other AIs alone. Because the AI can generate a lot more culture than you can, generally. And they're just doing it passively because they aren't as all-in of a strat as human players are. So one of the best strategies you can do against a culture victory civ in the upper level is to locate one of the civs that's alive that is high in culture but low in science and just defend them. Because they can fend off the culture bonus while you actually build a spaceship. Now, if Ron al-Rashid is doing culture at this point, we won't be able to do that because it's a given that we're going to have to take out England. England poses a serious threat to us. And we've already taken out Japan. And with only 4 players in the game, that means we don't really have an option to leave somebody alive. We've got to take a look at Mecca, actually. It's not as... it's impressive, but it's not as impressive as I feared it could be. But it is far away. Worst thing for if it's might try to win through a tricky method is for them to be far away. Back to building banks. Money doesn't grow on trees. This is the part where I realize, well, I actually already realized, but I've already realized that for some reason our happiness tanked here. It's probably because we have a lot of cities and we haven't built all of our buildings yet and things like that, but 10 unhappiness means that enemy units will start spawning, which is something you really want to avoid. So we immediately start looking around to see if there's anything that we can trade. Unfortunately for us, 2 of the 3 AIs in the game hate us, so they're not going to trade with us even if they have something to trade. Ron al-Rashid has something to trade, but he also doesn't look like he wants anything that we have. Generally, the AI will take gold, but he's going to want a luxury for luxury, and we can't do that. Luckily for us, we're actually going to figure out how to solve this problem before the turn ends. And the way we do that is by actually researching sailing. Because with sailing, the 2 luxuries down there by Kyoto will actually become usable to us, which means they won't be just sitting there. Honestly, we have a pretty good start. Series does show that you can come back from behind pretty easily in Civ. Especially against the AI. Against human players, it's a lot harder to come back from behind. Mainly because human players aren't as much of a pushover when it comes to war. Yeah. Say with artillery, most civs, most AI civs won't actually be able to fend it off. The additional 3 range means you can put your actual attack pieces for the city outside of the range of the city, which means they can't hit it. And as long as you have a couple units in front, you're almost guaranteed to take most cities. There are special circumstances, and the AI isn't completely incompetent at defending itself, so it is best to side on, way on the side of caution in these things. As I remember playing a game against a Sweden AI, and they had the Red Fort and all of their defensive buildings, and we were in the information age, and their city defense was like 300. And I was hitting it with rocket artillery, but it wasn't going to go down. And I don't remember how that game ends, but I don't know if I was able to actually take the city because it was just so beefy. Gotta watch out for those kind of things, because if you let an AI become too beefy, even if you can get off an artillery rush, you still won't be able to take down their city. Like, part of our problem with the invasion of Japan was that they had the Great Wall of China, and that meant that we couldn't move as much as we would normally within their territory. Movement restriction from the Great Wall is actually really decent at slowing down an opponent, especially opponents like us that want to be aggressive with a small number of units. It's kind of like funneling your enemies through like a little choke point, like you would do it in Starcraft. I'd say Starcraft may be the game that we go to after we finish up the Civ game for the weekend slots. I'd say I like the game a lot, Starcraft 1, and we could technically do one of the campaigns, because I'm not very good at actual multiplayer in that game. Let's say I'm decent at the game, but because I'm more based in turn-based strategy, my APM is not very good. Like, it's really bad. Well, I can build a pretty decent base. It generally takes me longer than it takes the AI to just overrun you. We are approaching the end of our recording session. Got 9 minutes left on the clock. Going forward with the just general things about the channel and YouTube in general. MTGA will be taking a backseat for a bit. You might not have seen it, but I did a video on the game off recently, and that'll be taking over MTGA's spot. I watched a Let's Play of it a long time ago, and I really enjoyed the game, really enjoyed the concept of the game, so I want to show it off. The French game, so kind of odd. I've never seen many other French games, other than like the Ubisoft Montreal type of thing. It's not French, is it? No, it's not. I'd be in Quebec if it was. It'll be claiming French, but it's a tangent. I don't know what I was going with there. So yeah, we're just building up this episode. Building up for our eventual war with England. Starting to build our trading posts. Just trying to get everything together so that way we can turn our attention away from city building for 10-15 turns and move it into unit management. We're pretty far from being one of the best players of the game. But if you want to see some of the best players of the game, you should definitely check them out. They are... You can get a lot from watching them play the game. That's how I ended up being able to beat my first game of Deity, by watching Quill 18 and Marbazier's series on Deity AI. Really entertaining, really fun stuff. If you want to watch the multiplayer stuff, you should definitely check out Filthy Robot. His multiplayer games are really intense. Really fun to watch. Really good player. Voting at the World Congress. I wonder when the session is going to change. Because if the session changes, we might be able to get the World Congress relocated to our continent. And ideally, because this may sound strange, but ideally we would want it to be located in London. Because that's the city we're planning on taking. So if we can take London, we'll actually be able to take control of the World Congress. Which is a weird thing, I know. I mean, if the Soviets captured New York, they wouldn't become, the de facto leader of the UN. But that's how it works in Civ 5, and I'm not going to question it. England is mad again. always mad about something. It's just how they tend to be, I guess. It's probably all that subpar tea they drink. I hear they drink tea with milk over there? That's mind-blowingly disgusting. Come on, man. We need it black. Black tea's worth that. Green tea's okay. But tea with milk? A bridge too far. A bridge too far. 5 to go, and we are making some steady progress. Definitely a lot to talk about, but as I said, we're going to try to make England the host, because that's going to be for our benefit. Now London's an even juicier target than it was before. And look at that. After we helped her become the leader of the World Congress, she called us vermin. Nice to know. Nice to know. Other thing. Because this is a game, sometimes the AI do some odd things. Like I've been friends with an AI the entire game, and somebody ended up declaring war on me, and basically the AI that was my friend basically walked up. You know, they do the whole diplomatic message, and they said, what is it? I don't know, basically they just denounced me, and it's like, why are you denouncing me? Well, the reason was because I was winning the game. Because it has nothing to do with actual diplomatic relations. It's more, who is the threat, and are they actually becoming the threat? Because things like coveting land, coveting wonders, believing you're moving too aggressively, those type of things, they're meant to keep you from just running away with the game. Because if you do start going to war with everybody and you do build all the wonder, then you do take up all the land, you will win the game. Like, there's no way the AI can stop you if you have a big enough empire. Or if you have a strong enough empire, I should say. Because in Civ 5, big isn't necessarily the metric for the strongest empire in the game. In Civ 6, it is the strongest, one of the stronger indicators, because in that game you can have a bunch of cities, and that means that not all the cities are going to be a drain on you. Like, the happiness system in Civ 5, I think, is better than the amenity system in Civ 6. It's more annoying, to be sure, because it's more, there are a lot of, I don't want to say it's more limiting, or that it has more consequences, because Civ 6 limitation is that eventually, if you run out of amenities, your cities are going to start to abandon you, which technically can happen in Civ 5 too. Like, if you get below 20 happiness, your cities will break away. And they'll start to revolt, and it's not good. I think that's the mechanic in the game. Although I've never seen it happen, because getting below 20 happiness means you pretty much lost the game. Now, you can get below 10 for a period of time and still recover and be okay. But if you're below 20 happiness for a consistent portion of the game, you've lost, because your happiness starts affecting everything that you're doing. I'm actually curious about that thing. I'll have to check after the video, but we are out of time, so I'm going to have to bid you guys adieu. Thank you for watching, and Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. See you later.